This is our first lesson called The 4 W's of an Incredible Small Group. I really want you to have an amazing small group experience. But to be honest, small groups can be challenging. Being a part of one can be a little bit intimidating, I guess. And so I wanted to put together a series to help with some keys to make that small group experience a little easier to get into and a little easier to understand. So let's get started. We have a framework at Ordinary Faith called Trusting Jesus, Honoring God, and Helping Others. That means that we start by trusting Jesus, we live to honor God, and we grow by helping others. That framework is the foundation for everything we do, including our small groups. So I want to talk to you today about how that a small group starts by trusting Jesus. And so the first key we want to cover is that in a small group, we follow. What does that mean? What do we follow? Who do we follow? Well, obviously, we follow Jesus. A small group, a faith community, is not a biker group, it's not a book group, it's not a ball group, it's a small group. It's a group gathered around Jesus Christ. And so that's why it's so critical that at least either through the group or before entering the group, we start by trusting Jesus Christ. So when we begin this journey of following as a group, we need to understand that the primary purpose of following is to get to know Jesus better, is to learn how to better follow Jesus. Jesus said this, "If anyone wants to be my follower, you must turn from your selfish ways, take up your cross and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it." Please understand that your small group follows Jesus. Bible study and learning about Jesus cannot be like an add-on to what you do as a group. Coming together and eating and having fun and watching a game or catching a movie together, those are great things. But never forget that the primary purpose of your faith group, your small group, is that you're following Jesus. The second thing you need to realize when you follow Jesus is that following Jesus is challenging. Your whole life you've learned one way to live, and that one way to live has been pretty much about you. It is for me. I do a lot of things that I think will make me happy and comfortable or make my life easier without a lot of regard for other people. I don't want to bother other people or irritate other people, but in the end, I have been focused most of my life on taking care of me. When I follow Jesus, He flips that on its head. Now it's not about what I want, it's about what He wants. Because He said, I'm bought with a price, and so I must honor God in my body and in my spirit, which are God's. And so that's challenging. Jesus takes our whole perspective, our whole trajectory of life up to this point, flips it on its head, and now it's no longer about ourselves. It's about following Him. So that's very challenging. So we follow Jesus. When we follow Jesus, that's challenging. Also, following Jesus is spiritual in nature. Consider what Paul said. Let the Holy Spirit guide your lives. Since we are living by the Spirit, let us follow the Spirit's leading in every part of our lives. Here the Bible tells me that I need to learn to live in the Spirit, to walk in the Spirit. So my whole life I've been living my way, which has been what the Bible would call a sinful way or a worldly way. I've been doing what I know. Well, now Jesus is teaching me something I don't know. He's teaching me a spiritual way to live. And so when I come into my small group, this is a spiritual experience. We're coming together in a place that we've never come together with others before. We're coming together in a way the Bible calls in the Spirit. What does that even mean? That's really hard to wrap your head around in the beginning because God's connecting you with a way of living, a place to live, which isn't seen with the eyes, touched with the hands, or picked up in any of the senses that we are accustomed to dealing with. So when we follow Jesus, it can be really challenging. And one of the reasons it's challenging is because we are dealing with something that's spiritual in nature. That's one of the reasons we need a small group. And lastly, following Jesus involves leading others. Now this may be a challenge for some, and many of us believe, well, I'm barely following Jesus myself, or I'm really struggling in my own faith. How can I help someone else out? Paul wrote this to Timothy. You've heard me teach things that have been confirmed by many reliable witnesses. Now, teach these truths to other trustworthy people who will be able to pass them on to others. I just want to suggest, suggest is too weak a word, but I need you to understand that there are parts of your faith that cannot be understood until you help someone else in their faith. And so helping someone else come to know Jesus, helping someone else learn how to live to honor God, or how to grow by helping others, it's critical for actually and personally coming to know Jesus Christ himself. Many of the things he teaches us can only be understood when we enter into some kind of discipleship-based relationship, or when we mentor someone else to follow Jesus. So, the first key is that we follow. We follow Jesus. That's challenging and that's spiritual. And in the process of understanding that challenging and spiritual way of living, we must also help others. When we help others follow Jesus, that connects us to Jesus in a much more personal way. And so this is our first key. We follow. So hang on to that. Talk about it in your small group. Talk about what it means to really follow Jesus. And look at those questions underneath this video.